And I want that version of myself to show up. And I want that version of myself to show up in the morning to the gym, because that's also the version of myself that I know is going to progress more at my job. That's also the person that I know I like introducing to people. I don't want to introduce the version of me to a new person when I know I haven't given myself the best version of me. Welcome to the Hotter Than Health podcast. Each week, we will bring you provocative conversations, entertaining interviews, and some of the biggest names in awareness to answer your burning questions. With each episode with tangible tips and takeaways, and to understand what it truly means to live an energized and optimized life. Hello. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Hotter Than Health. My name is Eliza Gelman, and this is a solo episode. Next week and the weeks following, we will have some bomb-ass interviews. I'm very excited for who we're going to have on. We have a couple of repeats, and then we are really diving deep into some, I don't want to say controversy, but I do think that it's important to get multiple opinions out there and understand that hearing different sides of things, different perspectives, it's what makes the world go round. So I'm very excited for that. I don't mean it to say it like clickbait, but if you're not already subscribed, this is the time to do so that you do not miss upcoming episodes. Today, like I mentioned, we have a solo episode. If this is your first time listening, these solo episodes have not necessarily been rants. There's a bit more structure, but today I wanted to tap into a conversation that I've been having with several people who I have been spending time with, and friends, family, coworkers, and I think that it's going to be relevant to a lot of people, especially if you are in your late 20s, 30s, and you're figuring out life and where you settle on some things in life. And I'll be less vague about that in a moment. A few housekeeping things. If you have not already subscribed, head over to Apple Podcasts, hit subscribe, and of course, leave us 5 stars. And if you leave us a review, just, you'll be entered in to win a Hotter Than Health farmer's market bag. I ship it to you. You will love it. It's easy to be review of the week, but reviews really are the greatest way to build a natural following and ensure that people are finding this podcast. If you don't mind doing that, that would be incredible. And if you're listening on Spotify, hit follow to ensure that you never miss an episode. With that being said, of course, we're still trying to grow the podcast, but I do think that it's been a really great past year or so, having really solid listenership and understanding that at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is really just provide as much value to those listening as possible. It has been less growth focused and more focused on just giving those who are listening and those who have been loyal listeners the best experience. Today we want to talk about discipline as it pertains to diet, exercise, healthy living, and how that bleeds into other aspects of life. And I know that this is a very general sounding topic, but I was listening to something the other day. Ed Milet had a solo episode, and if you don't listen to him, he's one of those guys that if you wake up and you're feeling like you're having a slow morning, of course, allow yourself those slow mornings. But if it's a weekday and you know you have shit to do and you know that you want to feel motivated, but you're resistant to it, you're feeling resistant to some type of work that you must do, whether that's making a green juice, whether that is getting to the gym, going for a walk, getting some movement, taking a cold shower, sending that initial email, whatever it is, you feel like you need that extra push. sometimes we do have to call upon other resources, outside resources for that motivation. And I'm not saying that we always need adrenaline in order to get things done, but sometimes if there's a little Kickstarter, use it. It's not like you have to do this all the time, but if it helps you to get into your discipline, that's when I think it's a good idea to use it. For example, this was Monday morning. It's Wednesday afternoon. It was Monday morning. I was getting ready. I woke up at 6:20, but I ended up I guess I woke up in the middle of a sleep cycle. I woke up super groggy. And normally I don't wake up just, sprint out of bed and chit chat and, birds are singing. No, I hate getting out of bed. I can't stand it. It's the comfiest place in the world. I've got my eye mask on. I've got my white noise. Like that your bed is never comfier than when you don't want to get out of it. So I was hit the snooze button several times. Already that put me in a headspace of, oh shit, I'm just going to be slow today. Maybe I'll go to the apartment gym. Maybe I won't go to like my big gym down the street and do the leg day that I had planned on doing the night before. I posted on Instagram. I was like, who wants to do the leg day workout with me? And I woke up and I was just not feeling it. And I'm all for listen to your body. If you're about to start, or like right about to start your period, or if you were on that first day of your period, or you just really are exhausted and you know that it's for a specific reason, then of course, give your body a break, give yourself some grace there. But if you know that this is how you're going to start your week and you have no like legit reasons and you do want to stay disciplined, sometimes you got to phone it in. And it's okay to phone it in sometimes. Call from those external sources of motivation. So what I did was I wanted to wake up and have my morning routine, do my green juice, do my coffee with the minerals, and make sure that I'm, setting myself up for hydration and all the things that I typically do to feel good. And those things are all automated. We'll get to that later. But I sat down on the couch, I did my meditation, and normally I'll do like a 23 to 26 minute meditation in the morning, and I haven't honestly been able to get into them lately. We'll talk about that more later, or maybe we won't, but I haven't really been able to get into them. My mind has been busy, and I'm dating now. So like my mind is on boys and it's on external validation that we get trapped in, and I'm not scared to admit that. I'm having a great time. It's fun, but it's also it makes you think about things. You have all these different first impressions that you're giving, that you're getting, and it naturally is going to spark new thought processes. So my mind's busy with all these different things, and then I also want to stay fresh with work and motivated, and I know that all of that for me starts in the gym. And I was like, oh, all I want to do is listen to, what was it that day? I wanted to listen to the Skinny Confidential or the Heather McMahon podcast, which typically they're either funny or extremely informative, interview based, but they don't always make me feel extremely motivated. I said, okay, I haven't listened to Ed Milet in a while. Let me pop him on. So I did an 8-minute meditation as opposed to the 23. And I was like, oh fuck, like I'm doing these things, I'm checking them off the list, but I'm not in it. I'm not in it right now. And I need to be in it for this day. I had a lot to do. And I wanted to kill this workout. Not just with caffeine, but like I wanted to get excited for, I wanted to have the good playlist. I wanted to show up and feel my best. And Monday morning at that gym is always a really popular time. It gets me motivated. I see all these girls that are in there getting after it, not saying that they're lifting the heaviest weights or they're jumping or they're doing anything. They're just in there, and you can see the discipline. Now, what I did was I turned on this Ed Milet, and I knew I didn't want an interview. I didn't want banter back and forth. I wanted a solo episode. I wanted to hear his voice, and I wanted to listen to something that I knew was going to motivate me. I said, okay, I don't know exactly what he's going to say, but I know that something that I hear is going to get me off this fucking couch. And I started playing it. And while I was playing it, I immediately started putting on my workout clothes. Kept listening to it, kept getting more and more motivated. So I had finished, half a cup of coffee. I didn't even finish my full cup of coffee because I was like, okay, if I'm feeling it now, let's use this momentum. I didn't want to miss that window in case it went away. And I got to the gym, had listened to the first maybe 15 minutes of this episode. And then I was like, okay, I got enough energy, and then I'm going to put on this great playlist, get this bomb ass workout done, which I did do, and I did post about it. So if you follow me on Instagram, you can do those same workouts with me. I just put them in my notes app. It's super easy, but I want to be more mindful with my progressive overload in training. And I've been talking about that a lot, but I'm like, okay, these workouts are heavy, and these workouts are a lot on my body in a good way, because I'm doing what I need to recover and stretch and work on mobility, but they're intense for me. And so I get into the gym. I honestly, felt really good about my workout. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to walk for 10 minutes on the treadmill. I was listening to the last 10 or 15 minutes of this short episode. And not only did it remind me that not all motivation is fleeting. Motivation is like a hummingbird that if it's in front of you, it's so beautiful. You can enjoy it, use it, stare at it. You know that it's like this beautiful, amazing thing, but it can be gone as fast as it got there. You could be motivated for 3 days in a row and just kill these workouts. And on the 4th day, you wake up and you're like, no. It's because we haven't put these processes in place to make the discipline automated. Let's get into automation. This is not saying, hey, hang this up and turn this off and go listen to Ed Milet, although you should find that episode. But motivation and discipline, when it comes to your supplements, a protocol, a workout routine, any type of movement, maybe you're just saying, okay, I want to work out for 30 minutes, 4 to 5 times per week, and that's it. Or maybe I just want to start with 15 minutes a day walking in the middle of my lunch break so that I know that I've gotten some steps in. Whatever it is. And if you're listening in Australia, or if you're listening where it's cold, then maybe you are just doing something to get some type of sunshine on your face because it's winter where you are. But let's talk about automation. Rewinding, we are in my kitchen Monday morning. I woke up, I had already hit snooze 2 times, maybe 3 times. So it's now 6:45 and I'm an early bird, so I'm like, okay, it's already late for me. And getting to the gym at 8 means that I'm missing that 7 o'clock crowd that really pumps me up. So I'm now with the 8 o'clock crowd, which is also fantastic, but I know the 7 o'clock crowd, like those are my people and they just pump me up. And 7 is not super early. Let's clear that up. I understand that, but I have my sweet spot. I know my window. So I'm in my kitchen. And had I not had my Monday morning on auto, there is not a chance that I would have had my morning routine locked in and completed the way that I did if I didn't set myself up for it the evening before. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Since I hit snooze 2 or 3 times, rolled out of bed a little bit later, that made me think, okay, I'm going to be a little bit more rushed, slightly more rushed, even if it's by 15 or 20 minutes, slightly more rushed in my morning. So that's why I did the 8-minute meditation instead of the 23. But had I not had my green juice prepared and my 32 ounces of room temperature water with minerals prepared, if I had had to think about doing that, maybe I would have just done water without the minerals. Maybe I would have done just a little tiny bit of green juice, chugged it back, and not really sat and let it digest. And maybe I would have rushed, and maybe I would have just said, okay, let's just go ahead and get the day started. Let me go down to my apartment gym and work out there. And I wouldn't have done the workout that I wrote on my phone the night before that I had programmed in from a couple weeks before that I had been training on, that I wanted to progressively overload. Having a few 1 to 2 things in the morning that were on autopilot for me tricked my brain into saying, yes, it's not perfect. Yes, this might not be your exact morning routine that you wanted, like waking up exactly on time, having the long meditation, having the motivation to go to the gym, and you got there around the 7 o'clock time. Maybe it's not that, but you're getting there. Had I not had those 1 or 2 things with the hydration, the greens juice, and the minerals, had I not had that, I can see myself going to the downstairs gym and hitting a 15, 20-minute workout and then just walking, which, by the way, is fine. But for where I am right now in the world of fitness, I'm working on something a bit heavier, building strength, building muscle, and that's where I want to be. And I want that version of myself to show up. And I want that version of myself to show up in the morning to the gym, because that's also the version of myself that I know is going to progress more at my job. That's also the person that I know I like introducing to people. I don't want to introduce the version of me to a new person when I know I haven't given myself the best version of me. That's not how I want to show up. And I was speaking with someone about this the other day, and this is something that really sets me free a lot of times. And I've never shared this on the podcast, I don't think. But it's this little pearl of wisdom that I think we oftentimes put so much pressure on ourselves to be the best at something, to be either the fastest, the strongest, the best at your job, the best relationship in your friend group, or the best friend in your friend group, the best at something. And people are going to be like, just be the best version of yourself, blah, 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 blah. Yes and no. My thought was always, when I first started the podcast, a little over 6 years ago, I said to myself, if the average person who creates a podcast puts out about 7 episodes, that just shows you how many millions and millions of people are out there doing podcasts. The average person puts out approximately 7 episodes before they give up. If I know I can get to at least 8 episodes, then I'm already a step above. I was like, okay, here's the phrase that set me free. This is the phrase that I tell myself when I'm not motivated, when I'm not feeling my best, when I'm not feeling excited. I am not the best at anything, but my superpower is that I will never give up. I will not stop. That is a phrase that sets me free. I am not the best at anything, but my superpower is that I know I will never give up. And that is more than I can say for 99% of people that I meet, will meet, know, observe, look up to. There's not one I don't need to, if you score a 90, I don't need to get a 99. But if I can get a 91, like, there's not one person that will not quit like I will. And that really has set me free, because I'm not saying that you have to do things half-assed and just check them off the list. You still want to do things with intention and to the best of your ability. But if you think that you're the kind of person that if you can't get it perfect, or if you can't compare to the person next to you, and then you're just not going to do it in that case, then remember, you don't have to be the best at anything, but the superpower can be you won't give up. And I think that is why I've had this podcast for 6 years, and it took 3 years to monetize. And by monetize, I mean like getting free shit and not like $50, $100 a month. There is not one part of me that thinks fitness, nutrition, relationships are not the exact same. The exact same. I said to myself, I don't have to have the strongest deadlift. I don't have to have the biggest ass. I don't have to have the sweatiest workout or burn the most calories or be the most flexible or do the highest whatever in yoga. I don't have to do any of that. But I will show up. I will show up and get it done. And right now, like I mentioned, I'm in the phase where I want to get it done the way I want to get it done. So if I know that I'm going to do X type of intense leg day, then I'm going to recruit a little bit of external motivation. Because if I don't, here's the thing, here's the kicker. By recruiting external forms of motivation, whether that is this podcast for you right now, the Ed Milet one for me the other day, whether it's a little bit of pre-workout or telling yourself that you don't have to be the best at anything, but you do have to show up. You have to be consistent. You cannot quit. When it comes to the motivation, let me finish that last thought. By recruiting a little bit of external motivation from a podcast, a playlist, whatever it is, you are giving yourself the opportunity to complete the task that you have called upon yourself to complete, whether that's ordering the healthier option at lunch or dinner, or getting the workout that you need in, or making that last dial if you're in a sales call, or if you're in a sales position, like making that last contact, sending that last email, or scheduling that last guest for a podcast, whatever it is. It will give you the motivation, even if it's temporary, to complete that one task. And with the completion of that task, you are gifted naturally. You are gifted discipline. Discipline is the hard part, and motivation, discipline is like when you're running up the hill, and motivation is like the gift of the hill going down. So you get the momentum. You can run a little faster. It's a little bit easier to run downhill. You can let your legs fly a little bit, and you don't have to breathe as heavy. And you're like, oh God, it feels so good to run downhill after running up that hill. Uphill is discipline. You've got to get to the discipline. You've got to run up the hill before you can be rewarded with the downhill, with the ease, with the momentum. But just know that downhill, it might be the same physical distance as the uphill that you climbed, but it's going to go by a lot faster. And you'll think, oh my God, I'm never motivated. You are, but we're not trained to appreciate the motivation. We think that we are owed the motivation, and we're not. We must earn the motivation. We are not by default deserving of motivation. We are designed to push through our discipline and our determination with a little bit of grit, and understanding that once you do that, you can be rewarded with the motivation. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, that putting mornings on autopilot, and I used to post this all the time on Instagram. I used to have a story almost every night on Instagram that was mornings on auto. It was my French press that was already pre-made at night, and then in the morning I would just press it down, but I would make like a cold brew. I would heat it up, but I would do a cold brew at night. Or what I do now is I just have the grounds in the bottom of my French press, and then I'll do the boiling water in the morning. But I have my water kettle already full, so all I have to do is turn it on. I have my 32 ounces of room temperature water with my minerals already in it, and then I have my glass out for the greens juice. There's not one part of my morning that isn't already on auto. I don't look at my phone for the first 30 minutes. I really don't. These 30 to 40. And if I do, it's because I'm setting up a meditation. I have been using the Superhuman meditation app. I've had Mimi Bouchard on a couple of times, and if you're interested in that, they did give me a code for anyone who's interested in using it. I use it for the music, because they have a nice music app that does help you stay focused or motivated or in the zone. But I've been using their walking meditations and the motivational meditations, because they aren't really meditations. They're more of little motivational pep talks that can last 20 minutes, 5 minutes. There's a whole range. But if you do want to check it out, you can use the code ELIZA. And I think that's the code. I'll check in a minute. Anywho, the morning on auto. Oh, and I was even talking to someone the other day that with the mornings, they were like, oh, it just takes the longest part of my morning is picking out what I'm going to wear for work. And I was like, you don't pick out your clothes the night before? She's like, no, I know I should. I was like, what the? Oh, I'm sorry. The code for the Superhuman app is ELIZAG. So if you want to use the code ELIZAG, I think you get a free month, and then the subscription starts. I'm obsessed with it. I love it. I've been using it for over a year now, but use the code ELIZAG. The easiest thing you could do is the night before. Set your shit out the night before. And you might think, oh, it's just this one glass I need to get out in the morning. It's just the coffee. It's just the greens juice. It's just the clothes. It's just the socks. But then next thing you know is you drop the salt in the morning. And then you spend the next 20 minutes picking up the salt little granules. And then, or maybe you run out of socks. Oh, you've run out of socks, and now you're running to the laundry room and you're trying to figure out where the matching sock is, and then you're frustrated. You're like, oh shit, I need to fold this laundry. And then you are thinking, oh, well, is this workout outfit making me feel cute? Does this even go together? Or maybe you're thinking, well, I'm in a rush now and it cuts off 5 minutes of your time. So if you're a person on a rigid schedule and you add all that little time up of those snafus that could potentially go wrong in the morning, you've wasted 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes could have been spent listening to a motivational podcast or reading a half of a chapter in a personal development book. Or it could have been a 2-minute longer meditation. Whatever it is, give yourself the opportunity to chill in the morning, or get yourself motivated, or understand that, oh, what I did last night is actually making a difference. The less you have to think in the morning, the better. Because we've talked about this before. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but sometimes we just need the basics, guys. We have a decision-making threshold throughout the day, and our thermometer and our cup is full in the morning. And if you are wasting all of your decision-making capabilities with what outfit you're going to wear at the gym or packing a lunch in the morning, don't do it. That is an at-night activity. Or having to get out the coffee grounds, do all your stuff. No, put that shit on autopilot. Do yourself a favor. If you are sacrificing your good decision-making threshold in the morning before you've even left the house, you know that you're not going to be making the best decision for lunch and dinner that night. Maybe instead of cooking that nice piece of salmon you have in the fridge, you're like, I'm too lazy. I didn't get home until 6:30 and now I want to Uber Eats. No, save that decision-making access that you have for later on in the night. I promise you, everything gets easier when you automate your mornings. I think that the little quote that I gave earlier, the little mantra, I was skeptical about giving that out because it's something that I really selfishly use all the time, and I think it helps me with any type of competitive edge. But I don't have to be the best at anything, but I know that my superpower is that I will outlast anyone. Like, I will not stop. I will not give up. Anywho, I wanted to also mention that this episode is brought to you by Organifi. And Organifi is a superfood, incredible organic company that we have been working with for over 2 years. And I just received more protein and 2 more canisters of green juice. If you are interested, then you can always check out the greens powder online. And I am super proud of their ingredients. I'm proud of their processes. And I also love that everything is glyphosate residue free. Glyphosate is a chemical that is sprayed as a pesticide over tons of crops. There have been thousands of lawsuits against people who have claimed cancer because of working around so much glyphosate. So if there's a company that is actively participating to remove that from their products, I'm on board. You can check out any of Organifi's products or my favorite products at Organifi.com/HTH and use the code HTH for 20% off. Again, I like the green apple. I've been using their pre-workout a little bit. I love the protein. We all know that I love the protein. But I have also been using some of the collagen in my coffee because I sometimes don't want extra flavor in my coffee, and the protein has a little bit of that delicious vanilla chocolate flavor, but sometimes I just want no flavor, and I do the collagen. Love it all so much. Thank you so much for sponsoring this episode. If again, this is your first time listening, ensure that you have subscribed, liked, shared, and followed us anywhere that you can, whether that is Instagram at Hotter Than Health Podcast or ElizaG_Wellness. Left us a review on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars or bust, and we will talk to you next Thursday. Yeah.